The April 5th meeting of the Thousand Oaks Council on Aging is now being called to order. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Francine, will you please call the roll?
Please say here present when I call your name. Commissioner Allen. Present. Chair Fotheringham.
Here.
Commissioner Gitt.
Present.
Commissioner Gorbach.
Here.
Commissioner Heggie.
Here.
Vice Chair Healy.
Here.
Commissioner Maria.
Here.
Commissioner Mortimer.
Here.
And Commissioner Norkin.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, now is the time in our program for public comments. I don't have any speaker cards, so I'm assuming that no one in the audience plans to make a public comment. And so let's move on to commissioner reports. We'll start with a report on education from Commissioner Gorbach.
Thank you, Chair Fotheringham. I'd like to begin by thanking Chair Allen, who brought this unique educational opportunity to my attention. I had never heard of this before, and this is called Senior Center Without Walls. Just as a reminder, I bring you these reports as informational items. They are not endorsements or recommendations. And this sounds so interesting. I'm going to read you just a little bit from their website. Senior Center Without Walls is a non-denominational program of the Episcopal Senior Communities. It is a national program offering activities, education, friendly conversation, and an assortment of classes and support groups to older adults from the comfort of their own homes. You can play a game, you can write a poem, go on a virtual tour, meditate, share a gratitude, get support, and most important, engage and connect with others every day across the country. And you do this via your telephone or computer. Apparently, a lot of folks do this on the telephone who just don't want to mess with their computer. The Senior Center Without Walls began in 2004 with the goal of providing a community for isolated seniors. What started with 2 groups and 8 seniors has grown into a program that reaches approximately 500 individuals throughout the United States. And again, you participate via your telephone. And if some of the classes have handouts, they email those to you. And I'm bringing this to you today because the spring session is just about to begin. I'm going to tell you some of the classes, and then I'm going to tell you how to get online so that you can see all of their offerings this spring. First of all, I had never heard of this. This is really awesome. You can learn about different museum exhibits. For instance, starting on April 19th, there is a course from the Contemporary Jewish Museum in San Francisco. And then the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art, the Asian Museum of San Francisco, the Oakland Museum of California, which is going to have an exhibition called Of Dogs and Other People, The Art of Roy DeForest, and that's coming up on May 31st. There is a course on the Museum of Modern Art in New York on Post-Impressionism on June 7th. So you really have got to take a look at this. This is pretty incredible. And then there's a series of classes called Armchair Travel. On April 12th, you will travel to New Zealand from the comfort of your living room. Or you can go to the Czech Republic on April 19th. How about South Africa? May 3rd, or Kuala Lumpur, India, May 10th, or if you want to just stay a little closer to home, Pikes Peak, Colorado, on May 17th. So the way you can find out more about Senior Center Without Walls, you'd simply go to www.seniorcenterwithoutwalls and run that all together. Seniorcenterwithoutwalls.org stands for organization. Again, www.seniorcenterwithoutwalls.org. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen. Our next report will be on fraud by Commissioner Heggie.
Okay, beware, watch out. New Medicare cards are coming. Why new Medicare cards? Well, the old ones had your Social Security number on it. So every time you use your Medicare card, you're giving someone your Social Security number. And we had recommended in the past that you make a photocopy of it and then just redact your Social Security number and use that instead of your original. But now you're going to get a new one. And, of course, the scammers are coming out of the woodwork now because you're going to get a call and they're going to say, okay, we want to verify the number on your card. Will you read it to us? Well, hang up your phone because they already have it. They don't need you to verify anything. Or they may call you and ask for money. To get your new card, you have to pay $25 or $50. There's no charge. And they are not going to call you. Medicare will mail your new card to you. They will not call you. There's a lot of people out there trying to take advantage of us. And I don't know, you younger folks probably don't experience this, but they seem to be targeting. The best thing you can do, hang up your phone. Who calls you and says, oh, hello, are you having a good day? Does anybody you know call you and say that? Hang up, you know. Or they mispronounce your name, hang up. That's going to be the theme of April. Hang up your phone, okay? It's easy to do. Thank you. And until next week or next month, I'll have another one for you.
All right, thank you, Ron. Let's continue with a happier theme with Commissioner Allen on health.
Yeah, thanks. Yes, well, after you hang up the phone, you might have a doctor's appointment. So what I wanted to talk quickly about today, and I have a PowerPoint, so you can always go back and look at it online, is how to talk to your doctor. I was a nurse for I've been a nurse for like 54 years now, and so I've worked in all aspects of healthcare, and doctors are very busy, and they have a lot of competition for what's going on in their head at any point in time. So hopefully this will give you some clues about what to do before you go to see your doctor so you get the best care possible. Can I have the first slide, please? Okay, a recent study, and this is, let me first, I'm not just making this up. This is from ARP, Healthy Living Information, and how to talk to your doctor, and the reference is at the end. A recent study found that doctors only let patients talk for about 23 seconds before cutting them off because they're thinking about something else that's going on in their life, not their life, but their other patients and everything. And then a study at University of California found that primary care patients were interrupted by their physician only 12 seconds after they began to speak. So when this happens, patients are more likely to leave their doctor feeling frustrated and not heard. So, and you're at a greater risk of being misdiagnosed. So these are a few hints. If you can have the next slide, please. Remember that doctors are people first and make a human connection, like, you know, how's your golf game or whatever that, just to make a human connection. But don't talk about the scores and everything for too long because, as you say, 23 seconds is all you've got at best. But then stay on message. Average visit time for visits is 13 to 16 minutes. So right after you make your human connection, then it's really important to get right to the point and tell the whole truth. Don't be embarrassed. I've been with a lot of patients over the years, and for doctors to make the right diagnosis, they need the truth. So don't couch it. Just let it go and tell the truth. Okay, next slide. And if it's something important, these are for really important when you want to really connect with your doctor about some important issue. You might even want to rehearse before you go, they suggested. You can write a script. I usually make a quick list. Even being a nurse, I have that doctor phobia where your blood pressure goes up and all of that. So I usually just make a quick list because I found that if you have 3 topics, they'll usually they can deal with about 3 key topics in that 13 to 16 minute time frame. And don't accept that they just blow you off by saying it's just aging, because if you have a symptom that interferes with your activities of daily living or your life, be specific about your symptoms. And don't save your questions for the end, because you'll get off track on another topic. So put them in with your list that you have with you. Next slide, please. If money is an issue, explain to the doctor what you can afford, because there's so many variations in insurance policies these days, and know your coverage. That's the other thing, because I was just listening to a talk, and what patients find out is they don't have the coverage that they think they have. So if money's an issue, please make that a key part. And this is kind of into what we're going to be talking about later. Don't be afraid at our age to have your end-of-life discussions. It's very important. Make sure both your family and your doctor know your wishes. And if you have any concerns about understanding what the physician is saying to you, bring along a family member or a friend that's a nurse or someone who knows the medical profession, and they can help you a lot. I've been able to do that with some of my friends and family. And next slide, please, the last slide. And don't be afraid to switch. If your doctor, patient, if you don't feel a good match, almost all insurance plans will let you pick a different primary physician. It's really important that you feel a connection with that physician, that they have your best interests at heart, and you have the right to change physicians. A lot of people are, oh no, I'm afraid, but don't be afraid to switch. There's no there's no shame in finding someone who's a better fit for you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And for our last commissioner report, we turn to Commissioner Maria for some news on social services.
Thank you. So today we have a fun social service to talk about. The weather's great, spring is here, and so it's a great time to go treasure hunting. So I'm going to talk a little bit about thrift store bargain hunting. So if we can go to the first slide. There's no bad time to go thrift store shopping. They have wonderful holiday events and all kinds of things. But what's great about the spring is everybody's doing their spring cleaning. And so you have people doing their first garage cleaning because the weather's nice. They're going through their house doing their spring cleaning. And all of those treasures usually end up in local thrift stores. So it's a wonderful time to find some fabulous bargains if you go out to our area thrift shops. And not only will you find clothes, they have large and small furniture items, lots of household goods and appliances. I find a lot of dishes. If only I could cook now. I have lots and lots of dishes. Books and DVDs. You can find, whole DVD season sets for a couple of bucks. Jewelry and accessories. I mean, there's no end to what you can find there. So it's a wonderful shopping opportunity. If we go to our next slide, you can certainly donate to your thrift store if you want to support your local thrift shops. All of them are linked with wonderful organizations and help people in the community. So certainly donating your unwanted items there help them. They become someone else's treasure. But also shopping there helps them because you're spending money there. You're getting a great deal, a great value, and they're getting money to help support people in need in your community. So if we go to the next chart, so this one's a little bit of an eye chart, but this is a map, and it's a 3-mile radius, and there's 5 great thrift shops just within 3 miles in Thousand Oaks. So on the left-hand side, that's kind of where the Jan's Marketplace is, and there's a couple shops right there. Goodwill and the Senior Concerns Boutique is there. And then if you go down more to the right-hand side, you'll see around the Skyline area, there's 3 very close there as well. There's Mad Attic, there's Zoe's No Fleas Market, and then there's also the Assistance League. So that's just, there's more. This is a list of all of them that are there. There's certainly more in the area, but you can see it's a wonderful day to get out. I recommend taking your car so you can load all your treasures in the car. But everything's very close. Certainly those little areas are walkable to hit a couple of the stores at one time. And on the next chart, in nearby Newbury Park, there's also locations that weren't on the map. We have a Salvation Army, a Goodwill there, and a Mary Hall Tree thrift shop there as well. So in closing, our last slide, just go out there and get shopping. I mean, there's a lot of treasures to be found, so we just want you to go out there and get shopping. And seeing is believing, so before I close out my segment, we have a model here. Our own Commissioner Nancy Healy is going to be modeling some finds that she has.
Yesterday, I am a huge thrift shopper, as is Mike. Thank you. I shop at thrift stores all the time. I also donate to thrift stores, and one really cool thing is when I go into the thrift store and see something I donated. And I like to know if they put it like in the designer section or like in the not so designer section. So anyway, yesterday I was already planning to do this today. So I have these white pants, which are pretty plain, but they're really nice white pants. Got at Senior Concerns Boutique. And if I remember, they were brand new. I think somebody had gotten them. And unfortunately, a lot of us women maybe buy stuff and then you never, ever put it on. So you just give it away. And then I had this really nice little cami that I got from Goodwill a couple of years ago. But I didn't have anything new from the Assistance League store, which is, I shop a lot. So I stopped on my way by there yesterday and got this great shirt. And I think it's really cool. They have some beautiful things in these stores. They really do. And I know I give stuff to them. I give some very good brands to them. And it's fun because you can have twice as many clothes as you would normally have. You get extremely expensive brands for a lot less, for less than you would pay for a much less expensive brand if you shop at the department stores. And I believe in shopping locally, so I do all of my shopping at the ones that we just talked about. So anyway, thank you, and I highly suggest that. Some beautiful things. If I were just younger and was fixing up a house, it would be great because they have so many things. I'm trying to get rid of stuff now, but the clothes are still fun. So go shop.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Terry. We'll move on now to our liaison reports, the first one of which is the Ventura County Area Agency on Aging. And from the VCAAA, I'd like to remind everyone that next month, May, is Older Americans Month. So we should be thrilled that they've set aside a whole month to celebrate our senior citizens. And watch for things going on in your neighborhood and so forth. There'll be a number of activities and so forth in May commemorating that. Our next report comes from the CSVP. Patty, is that you?
Yes.
Yes, Patty Ham is back with us today. We're thrilled. So take it away.
Thank you. I'm filling in for Rick right now for this report for CSVP. We'd like to remind everyone that the tax assistance program is still going on, and it will end on April 13th. That's the last day for that. And it is a free program for seniors 60 years of age or older, or persons with an income of $54,000 or less, regardless of age. And it's a fantastic program for seniors to get their taxes done by highly qualified volunteers that we have that are doing this program. On Wednesdays at the Newbury Park Library, you can go from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m., and that's Wednesdays only at the Newbury Park Library. The other days, you can go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at Conejo Creek South Community Building from 8:30 to 4. There are no appointments that are taken. It's a first-come, first-served basis. The other exciting news for CSVP is a new fundraising opportunity. They are collaborating with the Conejo Players Theater, and Conejo Players Theater will be presenting Social Security by Andrew Bergman. And the show will be on Saturday, June the 10th at 2 p.m. And CSVP will have a wine reception starting at 1. The curtains open at 2. And then after the show, they will have a special raffle. And tickets they will go on sale May 1st. and there will only be a limited supply, and you can buy them at the Global Center for $20 to help support CSBP.
All right. And how about the Global Commission?
Okay. Global, we have a lot of good news. This Sunday, a reminder that we are having a community garage sale at the center in the parking lot from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. and it's free, so you can come and see, kind of like bargain shopping at the thrift stores. You can see what everybody has there to sell. Somebody's trash can be somebody else's treasure. On the second Tuesday of every month, we are collaborating with Food Share of Ventura County. They are at our center handing out senior kits, and these are 20-pound boxes of food that they are giving out to seniors who qualify. They must be 60 years old, residents of Ventura County, and they must meet the federal income guidelines. You can pick up an application at the center any day, or you can come the second Tuesday of every month and get an application there, and it's from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. And I encourage all seniors who might qualify for that to come and take advantage of that program. It's Collaboration Month. In collaboration with the City of Thousand Oaks, we are happy to have host a transportation expo at Global on April 13th from 12:30 to 2. And some of the topics will be Uber for elders, on the go, public transit, benefits of Dial-A-Ride and ADA cards, and mileage reimbursement and travel training plans. And there will be an optional bus tour after. And space is limited, so you can go ahead and call for a reservation at the center or stop by and reserve a spot. The number is 381-2744. Our Global Senior Center Commission will be presenting their History Comes Alive series in April. The Unsinkable Molly Brown, presented by Val Raines. That will be on Sunday, April 23rd from 2 to 3:30. $5 will get you in, and tickets can be purchased at the Global Center at the front desk. Our Cinco de Mayo tickets will go on sale on April 14th, and that event will be on the 5th of May from 5 to 7, and it's always a very popular event, and tickets are $9, and tickets can be purchased at the Global Center at the front desk. And I'd also like to do one last reminder that we do have a incredible senior nutrition program at the Global Adult Community Center. And this program is for seniors 60 plus, and no senior will be turned away for inability to pay or for refusal to pay. And it's a $3 suggested donation, and they get a pretty good darn meal, a hot meal. Sometimes we serve sandwiches, but for most part, 98% of the time, it's a hot meal. Salad every day, fruit, yogurt or cheese, milk, and vegetables. And depending if there's grain in the meal, they also get bread. And we'd like to take this time to ask the seniors to take advantage of this great meal that they could have every day. And not only is it a healthy meal, there's a lot of opportunity for socializing at our site. And right now we have the best 3 chefs in town cooking for you over at the Global Center. Until we find a new chef, it's me, Rick, and Mike cooking. So I think we're pretty good chefs. So that'll be it for me today. I think I'm going to have to run. I'm going to have to go check out some of these thrift stores down on the boulevard. You got me excited about it. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Patty. Collaboration Month. It sounds like a good time to give your significant other or best friend a big hug and then collaborate on something. Now is the time for commissioner comments. Do any of our commissioners wish to make a comment today? Tony.
So I'm pleased to announce that the Conejo Valley Village launched its operations on April 1st. If you'd like more information on the Conejo Valley Village, you can go to www.conejovalleyvillage.org, or you can call our call managers at 805-372-1826. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you. Loretta?
Thank you, Nick. I'd like to remind everybody that the Senior of the Year dinner is coming up, and we are looking at our candidates now, and we have lovely candidates. We have an exciting dinner that'll be on Thursday evening, June 8th. There'll be something in the Acorn about it, and next time I'll talk about the donations and different advertisers that we have. But the tickets go on sale May 1st, and they're very reasonable. So, and it's a lot of fun. And it's a time to honor our seniors that have been volunteering and giving so much back to the community. And it's here at the Goebel Center. So mark your calendar and please come on down. Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy?
Monday I had lunch at the Goebel Center, and they had stuffed peppers, and it was really good. And I would take a class over there on Monday. So if you're taking a class there, it's the perfect way. You just stop in and have something to eat. But I had stuffed peppers, a really nice salad, an apple. I got to choose between string cheese and yogurt. I chose the string cheese and milk. So it was a really healthy lunch, and the price is certainly very, very reasonable. But take advantage of it. You don't have to go over specifically for it. If you're there to take a class, stop and eat. It's easy. Thanks.
Okay, Terry?
Yeah, I was going to piggyback on Loretta when she was talking about meeting with the doctor and having someone go with you and take notes. I had a coworker that had kind of a unique medical issue, and it was kind of complicated and different. And she would go with her husband, but she also bought a fairly inexpensive little pocket recorder, tape recorder, and would record. I mean, the doctor was aware, but would record the session so she could go back later and listen to it, because you're nervous and there's a lot of anxiety. And I always thought that was a fabulous idea, because I think I remember it until I get to my car and then I've forgotten everything. So I just wanted to mention that.
Okay. Any other comments from commissioners? All right. So then let's move on to our guest speaker, and I'd like to turn the program over to Commissioner Mortimer to introduce our guest speaker today.
Thank you, Nick. I'd like to introduce the Reverend Kate Lewis, a professional board-certified chaplain currently serving in the spiritual care department of St. John's Hospitals in Oxnard and Camarillo. She is a certified California Pulsed trainer and assists people daily with their advanced directives and living wills. Her undergraduate degree is from Loyola Marymount University, and her Master of Divinity is from the Graduate Theological Union in Berkeley. Kate is an avid traveler, gardener, and dog lover. Please welcome Kate Lewis.
Commissioners, thank you so much. Donna, thank you for having me. I am so glad to be here today. Thank you so much. I do live in Thousand Oaks. Thank you for that fine introduction. I was kind of go over some of that, but thank you. I am a chaplain at St. John's Hospitals, and I'm also a member of the Ventura County Palliative Care Team, which is an important organization. But what I want to say is, as a professional chaplain, I am not just the sweet little church lady who comes and is nice to you in the hospital. I'm a member of the clinical team, and my area of expertise on the clinical team has to do with all of the emotional and spiritual aspects of diving into that strange world that is hospitalization. I'm also part of the ethics team, and I'm one of the patient advocates. I am the one who makes sure that the voice of the patient is being included in every healthcare decision that's being made. And I do that even if the person is sedated or in a coma, is too young to speak for themselves, has dementia. I make sure that the patient's voice is heard. And I'm here today, I'm passionate about this, to make sure that your voice is heard, especially when there comes a time that you can't speak for yourself. And it will happen for most of us. So, emergency rooms and intensive care units. These are truly extraordinary places. And honestly, this human body of ours, it's a miracle of mechanics and chemistry and physics, isn't it? The fact that most of the time we walk around in balance and some kind of harmony, and that it all works together and flows together, it's truly extraordinary once you start to realize how many things can go wrong. I'll tell you, it doesn't take much to get these bodies of ours out of whack. And that's where this extraordinary technology that we give to you in our intensive care units and emergency rooms comes into play. But I want to tell you, it is extraordinary. We can put you in a bed. We can put a tube in nearly every orifice of your body, and I'm not joking. We can push air in and out of your lungs for as long as we want. We can force your heart to pump. We can cut you open and take stuff out and put stuff back in. We can inject all kinds of chemicals into your muscles and your veins. And we can do all of these things, essentially cheating death for a while, right? And sometimes this is truly the greatest gift in the world. It truly, truly is. And sometimes it's a nightmare. I've seen all of this. And what I bring to you today is the message that you have the power to advocate for yourself. We are lucky. We are rich people. We have extraordinary medical powers at our disposal. But truly, it is our choice to choose how we're going to utilize them. So today, we're going to be talking about dying. And let me be clear about that. Dying is not a medical event, okay? Dying is as normal as birth. Certainly, there are medicines that help with both birth and with death, but fundamentally, these are normal. This is normal. It is not a failure to die, okay? One way or another, it's going to happen for all of us. And what I have for you today is a success story about that. I hope that this story will be a clear explanation of what advanced healthcare directives and POLSTs are and what they can do for you to help you utilize this extraordinary gift that we have in just the way that's right for you. Okay. So I bring to you Myrtle's story. The documents, the PowerPoint that I'm using today comes from the California POLST organization. So they've provided this. I've adapted it ever so slightly, but it is their work. This is called Myrtle's story, and you may be unfamiliar with the word POLST right now, but we'll get to it. So what we'll be looking for as we ride along with Myrtle on her journey are what I call change points and decision points. So by change points, I mean we'll be looking for the times when Myrtle's condition changes or she does something new. And by decision points, I mean when, because of a change, some kind of a new decision is going to be made. So several years ago, when Myrtle Anderson's husband died, she was troubled that he seemed to suffer so needlessly before his death. He spent the last 6 weeks of his life in the intensive care unit on a ventilator, and she wanted to make sure that that would not happen to her. Okay? So there's a decision point here. Myrtle has said, that is not for me. Okay. So Myrtle wrote a living will. She stated that she didn't want extraordinary measures taken to keep her alive if she were terminally ill or permanently unconscious. She made that living will. She locked it in her desk with her will and her other important papers. Okay? Well, a living will is an older term that we don't use quite as much, but it's a document where you may have written down what your choices are. Or it's perhaps a video that says what your choices were. Any kind of bit of information that can be recorded that tells us what you might want could be considered a living will. Okay? So there are 2 decision points here in this slide. Unfortunately, both of them are problematic. First of all, what does extraordinary mean? Extraordinary measures can very much mean different things to different people. It would have been helpful if Myrtle had been able to explore and clarify what she meant by extraordinary. And then number 2, she decided to lock it up with her important papers. No one but Myrtle knows that she has a living will. Recently, when Myrtle's nephew Tom could not reach her by phone, he went to her house to check up on her, and he found her lying on the floor, confused and unable to speak for herself. He called 911, and she was admitted to the hospital. And at the hospital, the physician's evaluation revealed a brain hemorrhage, which is a stroke. So there's a change. There's a change in Myrtle's condition. When asked if she has an advanced healthcare directive, and we are going to be abbreviating this as AHCD, but I'll just say advanced directive. When asked if she has an advanced directive, Tom says he doesn't know. She hadn't said anything to him about it. So now the doctors in the emergency room are faced with a couple of decision points. How aggressively does Myrtle want to be treated? And who is going to make that decision for her? Well, once Myrtle's stabilized, the physician calls her daughter Carol in North Carolina. He wants to discuss Myrtle's current and future treatment. Well, Carol and her mother had not spoken for several years. Carol says she has no idea what her mother would want, and she has her own problems to worry about, and hangs up. So what we see here is that even though Carol hears that there's a change in her mother's condition, she's not going to be making a decision. And you can see the challenge here, and this happens every day. Because Myrtle did not tell Carol or her doctor or Tom that she had a living will, they're completely unaware of what her wishes are. And this story also introduces for us the complexities of many family situations and the impact that those complexities have on our healthcare decision making. My friends, we have seen everything in the emergency room. We've seen everything in the intensive care unit. We don't really judge you or worry too much about what your family situation is. We just want to work with it to make it best for you. So we just need answers, and don't be ashamed or worry about judgment. We just need to take care of the patient in front of us, and that's what we need help with. So when Myrtle's primary care physician is contacted, he says that he and Myrtle never discussed her wishes if she became critically ill. Here we go again. The doctor's being asked to make a decision, but he doesn't have any idea what to say. And I have to tell you, this is so common. We find that across the board, most primary care physicians are very reluctant to bring up the subject of end-of-life issues. And I totally get that, right? They're the ones who we want to be healing us. We don't really want them to be bringing up the idea of, well, what am I going to do when you get so sick I can't heal you? So we got to do it for them. We need to be the ones that have a little bit more courage and bring up that idea of, please talk to me about advanced healthcare planning. And they can now get paid for it. So Medicare does pay for advanced healthcare planning. So do your doctors a favor. You bring up the topic so that they can talk about it. It's the nice thing to do. So getting on with Myrtle. Her condition improved. Though she wasn't able to speak clearly after the stroke, she had difficulty swallowing, she was no longer confused. And so her nephew, Tom, helped arrange for her to get to a skilled nursing facility. We call it a SNF sometimes, a SNF for speech rehabilitation. So 2 change points. Myrtle got well, she got transferred to the SNF. It's all good. When she got to the SNF, they always ask if you have an advanced healthcare directive. And to everyone's surprise, even though she can't speak, she nods her head. Yeah, I do. Really? Tom agrees to go look for it, and he found it. So there's a change point. Now we know that Myrtle has a document, right? The physician caring for Myrtle in the SNF looked at the document, got together with her again, and asked her if she meant for this document to govern her care. She nods yes. Though there was no agent or decision maker noted in this living will, the doctor put it in her chart, and that became the plan of care that they utilized. So again, there's a decision point here. The team is going to follow what Myrtle wrote down. The doctor also told Myrtle and Tom about the POLST form. This is a physician's orders for life-sustaining treatment. And the doctor's a woman. Boy, there went my bad stereotype, huh? She said, the POLST is a physician's order documenting your wishes for health care. And so what a good doctor. We in the intensive care unit love these doctors. These are the ones who put that pulse form into place, have a conversation with their folks, and keep it with the patient and get it to us. Now, this has been legal since 2009. It's basically a portable doctor's order. It's a legitimate doctor's order that travels with the patient wherever the patient is. We'll talk more about it later, but this is how the pulsed form played out for Myrtle. So they went down the form, and like I said, we'll do it again later. But he asked her about CPR. She said, no CPR for me, no beating on my chest. The physician recognized and documented that Myrtle had decision-making capacity and that she had checked do not attempt resuscitation on her pulse. A decision point. In Section B of her pulse, she chooses comfort measures only. In Section C, she chooses no artificial nutrition. And then she signs it. Once again, all of the decision points. So, Myrtle's rehabilitation progresses well, and she regained her ability to speak and to swallow, which is a real benefit. And that can be hard after a stroke, but when you can swallow again, that's a blessing. Myrtle had requested some assistance in completing a new advanced healthcare directive in order to appoint her nephew Tom as her legal decision maker. Okay? So that's a very good change point. She's going to fill out an advance directive. She's going to name Tom as her decision maker. And that's the basic difference between what we used to call a living will. It's a simple document that says what you might want. An advance directive includes what you might want and a power of attorney for healthcare only, saying who your legally designated decision maker is for healthcare. Durable power of attorney for healthcare is part of an advanced healthcare directive. So Myrtle said that she wanted Tom to make all of her decisions for her, starting immediately. And she told her physician, just don't bother my daughter. And happily, the post form went home with Myrtle when she was discharged. Sounds good? Not so much. There was a decision point that was not well thought out. Don't bother my daughter, Carol, she says. Well, we already know that things aren't great between Carol and her mother. We can understand why Myrtle wouldn't want to bother her with this, and it may or may not go well. Myrtle's daughter comes to visit. The visit was pleasant, and like we all would do, Myrtle did not want to stir things up by telling Carol about the decisions that she had made in her advance directive. While Carol was visiting, however, Myrtle collapsed. Carol called 911. To a decision point, don't tell Carol. Change point, call 911. So the emergency personnel arrived. They found Myrtle's bright pink pulsed form on her refrigerator. They transported it to the hospital with her, along with her healthcare directive. Myrtle had kept her pulsed form in a plastic cover, and her advanced healthcare directive was slid in right behind the pulsed. So in the emergency room, the emergency medical folk gave the pulse to the staff, and they noted that Myrtle had chosen do not attempt resuscitation, and that she'd chosen comfort measures. Carol, however, wanted everything done to save her mother. She didn't understand why the doctors were following the pulsed form and not listening to her, right? So Carol is beyond upset at this time, and for her, this whole emergency experience is completely confusing. It's a scary place. She doesn't get why the team is not trying to save her mother's life, even though that pulsed form clearly said what it said. The team, of course, would do their best to explain to Carol what her mother's wishes were and what this pulsed form meant, but it obviously isn't going to work very well. Worse than that, she finds out that her cousin Tom is the decision maker and not her. You know, if Myrtle could have had the conversation with her, been a little braver at the time, it may have caused a fuss at the moment, but it would have avoided this fuss. On the other hand, Myrtle's out of it for this fuss, and so she's not seeing it, So that's a choice you need to make yourself, but you need to know that it is a decision point, how much you choose to tell your family. And it can go wrong. It is usually better to communicate more than less. Due to the severity of this stroke, Myrtle died.
but she was comfortable during the dying process. Afterwards, Tom was asked about tissue donation, and following her wishes, he was able to donate any of her tissue that might be useful. So there was this final change. Myrtle died comfortably. But even after her death, Tom was able to follow her decisions. So that's kind of the beautiful thing. And that's why I say that this is a success story. That's what I mean. I can imagine that any one of you probably has stories like this, and there are probably some permutation of this. And I can imagine that many of you either have faced or are going to face these same change points and decision points in your lives or in the lives of people you love. And I hope that just this small story and thinking about your own stories will convince you that indeed this business of thinking about what your choices would be, writing them down, naming a decision maker, all of these things are extremely important if it's important to you to utilize extraordinary technology the way that you want to at the end of your life. So I brought in two kinds of documents for you today. I've brought in a sample of a post form, and I've brought in a sample of an advance directive. And we're going to start with the advance directive, okay? It's the white form. So, an advance healthcare directive is a legal document that tells your family and your caregivers three things: who, when, and what. Who is your decision maker or your agent? When will that go into effect? And what are your treatment choices? And the Advanced Healthcare Directive is a document that any person over 18 years of age might think about having. Certainly our young people are less likely to have one, but by the time you get to a reasonable age such as us, you should at least have an Advanced Directive. Okay. So the very first portion, we're going to go through the three parts of the form. The very first portion of the form asks the question, who? Who is your agent? Who is the person that knows you the best, that you would trust to offer substitutionary judgment? And what I mean by that is, we're not asking someone to make decisions for you or to make the decision they want to see happen. We're asking them to make the decision you would make. If you, who are now lying in the bed, intubated and unable to speak to us, if you could stand up right here with us, look at yourself, know everything the doctors have said, see a prognosis, see kind of what the plan is, what would you tell us to do? So what we're looking for from a good agent is substituted decision making. Does that make sense? So the most important thing is, who is your agent? And this is the subset of the document that is the durable power of attorney for healthcare. You may have also heard of other durable powers of attorney. There is another one that is for finances. We in hospitals and skilled nursing facilities have nothing to do with finances. If you bring us your financial power of attorney, we'll give it back to you. We don't want to see it. It's not part of it. This is simply the power of attorney for healthcare, and those are the two kinds of power of attorney that exist. Okay? You do not have to choose a family member. You can choose any adult you want who's over 18 years old. Okay? You can also choose alternates. We don't allow you to choose a group. We need one. The documents are clear about that. In practice, however, you will find that family groups do tend to make decisions by consensus, even though there is one person who's named as the agent. That makes sense. So number two, when? When does this document become effective? Two choices. It's either effective when my physician determines I am unable to make my own healthcare decisions, or it's effective immediately, even though I'm still able to make my own decisions for myself. Either way, most of us who are doing pretty well want to have it go into effect in the future. We want to have it go into effect when we're no longer able to make our own decisions. If we are people who are beginning to have some dementia, or if we have family members who are beginning to have some changes in their mentation, it's quite conceivable that you might want to give to your children, make my decisions starting for me now. And that's quite conceivable. So either way, when will it go into effect? Now or later? And the third thing is what?
what are your treatment choices? There are two basics. There's kind of boilerplate language that you'll find in every different advanced healthcare document there is. And there are multiple documents. They're all good. In California, they're all good. We'll take anything. The basic boilerplate language is, am I choosing not to prolong my life? If things get real tough, if I have a terminal disease, if I'm not expected to get better, if I have no hope of meaningful recovery, do I choose not to prolong or do I choose to prolong? And either of those choices are perfectly legitimate. You usually have to initial a box to say that. Those are the basics. Underneath all of that, they will give you a whole lot more options. Some advanced directives will ask you about tissue donation, organ donation. Some will ask you about your cremation burial choices. Some will, that's about all I can think of. But there are spaces on these documents to say, for instance, I no longer want CPR, but I would want to be intubated. And that's pretty common. And let me just say to you, if you're an elderly person and your body is frail, you do not want CPR. CPR will break your ribs on the very first push. It has to go that deep to make your heart pump. I have a strong bias, this is personal, against CPR for elderly, frail people for whom only 1% of them will even recover anything useful. Intubation is another story. Getting that tube put down your throat so maybe we can get you over an pneumonia or something like that. Many people choose no CPR, but okay for intubation. That's a possibility. But again, please understand this is my personal bias. I just don't like watching old ladies' ribs get broken. Okay? Oh, yeah. The fourth thing that we do is we make it legal. And the way to make this document legal, there are two ways to do it. You can have it witnessed by two friends of yours. It's free. Nobody has to pay anything. Just grab two neighbors, have them watch you sign it, and they sign it, and you're good to go. There are a couple of witness requirements. One of the witnesses cannot be a member of your family or someone who will benefit from your demise. So you can't actually allow people who would benefit to sign them. Well, one person can, one can't. The other way to do it is to have it notarized, and that usually costs some money. The third detail is if you are a person who's living in a skilled nursing facility, the ombudsperson has to also sign the advance directive. That's a protection for people in skilled nursing facilities. But making it legal is easy. And then once you have it, it's yours. Copies are as good as the original. Don't lock it away like Myrtle did. Share it with your kids. Let Carol know that you decided on Tom. She'll get over it. And you can tell Carol, you know what? I just didn't want you to have to bear the burden, darling. Tom will take care of it. And Myrtle will see right through you, but it's okay, right? So that's how you make your document legal. If you choose to change your mind, you can just draw a line through it, initial the line. You can make a new one anytime you want. So an advance directive is a wonderful document, but it's not permanent for the end of all time. You can always change it. It's yours. It's your document, your wishes, your choices. Okay. Moving on to posts. You have your hot pink form. Posts always come on hot pink paper. That's kind of the deal. It's part of what they devised in the plan here. The acronym POST stands for Physician's Orders for Life-Sustaining Treatment. So this is a physician's order. It's a portable order. It travels with you. It is for life-sustaining treatment, which indicates that it's for the times when your life is in jeopardy. Right? This is serious business. And just like advanced directives, a photocopy is as good as the original, and the photocopy does not have to be on pink paper. But the post form works in concert with an advance directive. It is an additional document that is very useful for people who have a chronic progressive illness of some kind, for people who are seriously ill, for people who are medically frail. So chronic illness, frail, seriously ill, you really want to have a post if you want to be sure that your wishes are followed. Okay. We're going to look over the four portions of the post. So starting at the very top, the very first top black line there says, HIPAA permits disclosure of post to other healthcare providers as necessary. So right away, healthcare providers can always share information with each other, and your information can always be shared with your with your decision maker, with your durable power of attorney. So right off the bat, nobody's going to say we can't help you because we don't have permission to invade your privacy. That's a done deal. So that's important. The second thing you see is the EMSA seal. The Emergency Medical Services seal is the communication to all EMS personnel. When they see this, they know that this is the document that is approved by their organization, and they are legally required to follow this document. Once again, I go to that issue of CPR. CPR is assault. Okay, breaking somebody's ribs is assault. An EMS person cannot do that to you if this document says no. Okay? It's an important thing. Right there across the top, it says, first follow these orders, then contact physician. So the first thing the EMS personnel are meant to do is follow these orders and then contact the physician. And this also leads me to explain to you that the post is a document for the community. The post is the document that holds sway when you are in your home, when you are in an assisted living facility, when you are in a skilled nursing facility, anywhere outside of the hospital. Once you get to a hospital, this doctor may not have privileges. We replicate whatever's on the post with our doctors. So posts are not effective inside a hospital because we might not allow that doctor to place orders in our hospital. Do you see that? But to the minute you get to our door, the post is what's in place. Okay, so it's the emergency medical technicians, the people at the skilled nursing facility, the people at your assisted living. They're the ones who follow this. We follow it too, but we have to write that order ourselves. It's a bit of a detail, but it might explain if sometimes it seems a little complicated. Section A, we start by looking at the gray bar that goes across the top. If the patient has no pulse, and if the patient is not breathing, what do we do? If you have no pulse, and if you're not breathing, what are you? You're dead. Sorry to say, but that's what's happened. The question is, what do we do when we find you that way, in cardiac arrest? We either attempt resuscitation or we do not attempt resuscitation. It's one or the other. And we try very hard not to encourage people to cherry pick. I'll take this, I won't take that. Because CPR is part of advanced life care support, advanced life-saving. I'm looking at the nurse in the room. ALCS, I think it's called. At any rate, it's the protocol of many, many things that happen. If we decide to do resuscitation, many, many things happen. They all have to happen. We can't just do some. It's a whole piece. Yeah, thank you. So, Section A, you've left us. What should we do? Say goodbye and kiss you, or try to get you back? Okay, it's pretty cut and dry. Did I say Section B? I meant A. Section B, again, looking at the gray bar. If you are found with a pulse and you're breathing, but you're just in terrible shape, things are getting real dicey for you, then what should we do? And that obviously is a much more complicated question. The post people have given us three choices: full treatment, selective treatment, or comfort-focused treatment. There's lots of variations within there. Lots of opportunities to write in additional orders, do what's right for you. If you choose attempt CPR, you must choose full treatment. If you're going to say try CPR, you have to let us do everything. Okay? And that's fine for some people. That's exactly what some people want. You know, a person who you might see that with is, let's say you have a 30-year-old quadriplegic and they had a car accident and, right, they can't move, but let's say they get something bad happens, they have a heart attack. Well, they want to be resuscitated. They want to have full treatment. They want to go through it all, right? So it's completely conceivable that a young person might have to have one of these for that kind of a reason. Other people are more likely to choose selective treatment or comfort-focused treatment. Certainly the one in the middle is the one we see the most. You know, give me some antibiotics, maybe put me on a respirator for a day or two. We'll do a few things. But when people really, really get to the end of their life and they really don't want to come back to the hospital and they're tired and they just want to stay home and look at the birds and maybe nibble on a little chocolate ice cream, we go for comfort-focused treatment. Okay? And that's what Myrtle had done, and that's where Carol got surprised. She hadn't expected that. So that's the Section B. Section C talks about artificially administered nutrition and hydration. There are 3 choices there. Do it for a long time. Again, my quadriplegic may very well not be able to swallow and needs to have a feeding tube in his stomach, and that's just how he lives. That's his regular food, right? Some people may want just a trial period of artificial nutrition. Others just don't even want to talk about that tube in their nose or in their belly. If you can't eat the chocolate ice cream, right? But that's a life choice. That's what you need to know about yourself. Like, what's your benefit versus burden balance, right? Chocolate ice cream can be the most life-giving thing. Section D is where we gather up more of the information and the actual signatures that make this legal. We write down if somebody does have an advance directive or not. We write down who their decision maker is if they have a formal one. We write down who their surrogate is if it's an informal decision maker. And the physician or the physician's assistant needs to sign it and put in their number and their phone number. And the interesting thing about this new form is that physician assistants are now able to sign PULSE documents as well and place those as doctor's orders. And again, this is part of Medicare also paying for this conversation. So if you want to have a PULSE done, your doctor can get paid for it, okay? I think there's increments of like 15 minutes, 25 minutes, 35 minutes, but they have the code and they know it. So you can get this done. So that's a quick overview of the PULSE form. There's more information on the back, but it's just general information. You can read that at another time. You can find all of this stuff online. I'll talk more about that in a minute. But what I want you to remember is that Myrtle's Advanced Healthcare Directive, in combination with her PULSE, ensured that at the end of her life, she received the kind of treatment that she wanted. Right. So just a quick refresher. The Advanced Healthcare Directive is a legal document that states 3 things: who, when, and what. And truly, all adults could or should have one. With regard to California, there's no single form. Find whatever one you want. Get a piece of paper. Write it down yourself. Have it witnessed. It can be completely informal. It works. You can get them from these websites. And if you have somebody in another state, sometimes other states are more picky than we are, and you might want to go to various websites. This is one of them where you can find a particular state form if you want to help somebody out in another state. The PULSE form is for people living with serious illnesses. It's a doctor's order that goes with a person wherever they are living, and it should be revisited every time there's a change in condition. And most of all, what the PULSE people say, and you'll start hearing this and seeing this, it starts with a conversation. That's their tagline. That's what they want everyone to know. It's a conversation. You got to have it. Then that's what I'm asking you to do, is to talk with your family, talk with your friends, talk with your doctor, because that's the way that you're going to get the care that you want. And that takes me back to my role as patient advocate. You see? So California's PULSE program is one of the most mature and well-established in the nation. There are 3 or 4 states that are now deemed to have mature PULSE organizations, and we are one of them. And the interesting thing is we're in the process of testing a PULSE registry. So 2 of our California counties, we're not one of them. We have another organization. We're working on something a little bit different. But 2 of our counties in California are testing the idea of, let's say you come into the hospital, I get your ID card, or I go through your phone, and I find out who you are. I plug you into the system, and it tells me if you have a PULSE or not and prints it out for us. So that's pretty cool. You can find a whole lot more information at CalPulsed, capulsed.org. And again, most of all, talk about it with your physician. Final overview. Think about your wishes for your care. Talk with your loved ones and your physician. Select an agent or a decision maker. Complete your documents. Keep them where somebody knows they are. And review them. They can be updated anytime you need. So, to refresh your memory, I'm Kate Lewis. I'm a chaplain at Dignity Health, St. John's Hospitals in Oxnard and Camarillo. And I hope that I've informed you today, and I hope even more so that I've inspired you. I want to inspire you to be brave, to think about your hopes for a good death, because we all want a good death, right? I want you to talk about that with your family and friends and physicians. Bring it up. Have a conversation over dinner one night. It's not going to be the end of the world, right? It's going to be a beautiful thing, honestly. Get it down in writing. All of this so that when your time comes, and it will, we, as healthcare providers, do this for us so that we can feel good about giving you exactly the care that you wanted. All of the care that you may have wanted, but none of the care that you don't want. Does that make sense? We appreciate you very much. We appreciate you coming to all of our hospitals, and we just want to do the right thing by you. Thank you.
All right, we'll now open the floor for questions from the commissioners. Do any commissioners have questions? Donna?
Kate, do these forms, if someone goes to the doctor, does the doctor automatically give this to you and provide it to you, or only if you have a terminal illness? And
At this point, you'll need to ask.
you have to ask.
It's not a standard thing in most offices, but ask for it. They've got them. I will say they also come in different languages. They come in maybe 30 different languages. The legal one has to be in English, but you can get ones in other languages to show to people.
Karen?
Thank you very much for a really, really good lecture. I appreciate it. It used to be that we did not talk about sex in schools. And we do now, and it's a normal part of life, and it's part of curricula, and I know that not everybody is good with that, but more and more people are. Death, I think, is a taboo subject still among families, and I was just wondering that, you are in the POLST community, and is there any movement toward making the study, or at least the discussion of death, more mainstream through public school curricula, and help remove at least a tad of the taboo?
I have no idea about public school curricula. That's a very good question. Certainly, we see that there's so many books out right now. We have Being Mortal and Life is Breath. More and more books are coming out. We're sort of beyond just the Elizabeth Kubler-Ross dealing with grief. We're looking at death ahead of time. I have no idea about curriculum, but that's a great idea. I do know that, right, think about it, 100 years ago, children would have seen dead people in their family. Grandma would have died at home. It would have been normal, right? And now, not so much. We don't even allow them in the intensive care units most of the time. And even our adult children of parents, people my age in their 40s and 50s, haven't seen somebody die before till they get to my intensive care unit. It's so different now. You're right. Do you know anybody who would do that or could do that? How did you all feel about me talking about death for the past half hour? Did you live through it?
Yeah. It's a way of life.
It is, isn't it? But it's a way of life to talk about death. And what you're reminding us is we don't. And we act like death is a failure. He lost his battle with cancer. Really? It's not a failure. And death seems, it's almost like it's shameful. Like you're embarrassed that you died. What are you going to do? You know? So, yeah, we have some troubles. Thank you.
Kate, on the comfort. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Francine. On the comfort focus treatment, if a person goes on to hospice with a local hospice or a hospice, they don't have to have this. It is automatically assumed that you do not call 911 when your loved one or the person you're with is on hospice. You call hospice and let them know so that they don't come and do a resuscitation, right? So they don't need to have a form like this also.
Our local hospices are definitely using the POST form to ensure exactly what you say. So it's an added layer of affirmation that this person is a do not resuscitate, has a do not resuscitate code status. So all of our hospices are using the POST forms, and they're all putting comfort treatment. But we do have many, many situations where Carol comes home and mom collapses, and we still get the person brought to the hospital. And the truth of the matter is, when there is a severe change in condition, either the patient themselves or the legally recognized decision maker can rescind the POST. So or they can ask the doctor to rescind the POST. I apologize. It's a doctor's order. Only the doctor can rescind it. But the decision maker can ask the doctor to rescind the POST. So yes, it does happen sometimes that even our hospice patients are brought back into the hospital, taken off hospice, and things happen to them that they might not have wanted. But I will say, sometimes they just have a little urinary tract infection. They come off hospice for 2 days and they go back on. But we try to have strong conversations with the family to help them now understand. If Myrtle had lived, we would be talking to Carol, helping her understand what her mom really wants. And that's my job, is to speak for the patient, right? To explain to Carol or the child or whoever what it means to be okay with being at the end of your life. I want to be okay with being at the end of my life when the time comes, you know? So we are using them in hospice, yes.
The book you mentioned, Being Mortal, is a wonderful book to read to give you a whole different outlook on end of life and how natural it really is. So it's a great book.
Did that help you?
Yes, it definitely did. Yeah. Thank you.
Being Mortal by Atun Gawande. Being Mortal. But I don't get anything for that.
No, I don't either.
I know.
Yeah, I have both an advanced care directive and a PULSE form that were created many years ago. Should I be concerned that they might not be accepted today because of changes that may have occurred in the form since then?
No, they'll be fine. But you should revisit them.
Okay. My PULSE form was signed by a doctor who's no longer living. Is that an issue?
That's a good reason to revisit. That's a change point.
All right.
Yeah. Take a couple of these here.
Okay.
That is a change point. Had that happened to us in a hospital, we just assume that the order is still, you have to make some assumptions, right? You can't predict that somebody's going to die. But yeah. So revisit them.
What would occur if I provided conflicting instructions on these two forms? Which one would
the one with the most recent date is the one we would go by, and we would also work. There's a point. Every discipline has its rules, and every discipline has its art. Right? And much of the art of every discipline is knowing how to work within the rules in maybe a creative way. But in general, with what you're talking about, the most recent one takes precedence.
And you mentioned that the PULSE form would typically be filled out in case of a serious illness. Where I would be concerned about it would be if I were in an automobile accident and left unconscious, and the EMTs are trying to make a decision of what to do. And how do I provide them with instructions if I'm waiting for a serious illness to come along and an accident occurs first?
The car accident situation where fire trucks show up and ambulances, The default is to do everything for everybody. If they don't have the post presented to them, if it's locked away in your safe, and under any circumstances, our EMS default is to do everything for everybody. So unless you had a card in your wallet, we wouldn't even look at the wallet, though, frankly, right? If you're in bad shape on the side of the road, those EMT guys are going to do everything they can to bring you back. Once you got to the hospital, we might have to backpedal a little bit if you had said no treatment.
Is there any effort in the works to provide a post on your cell phone that the EMTs might have access to?
Yes, there is. That's that registry I'm talking about. Yeah. And you could, many cell phones have an app on them. The smartphones have an app that has healthcare information. Mm-hmm. You could take a picture of your post and put it on there. Routinely, when people come into the hospital and I don't know who they are, I go through their stuff and I go through their wallets and I go through their cell phones. I'm always doing that. So anything you want, we do look for it, not in the heat of the moment, but as soon as we have a minute to take a breath, we look for it.
Yeah, most of us wouldn't want to hang this pink form from our rearview mirrors.
Well, some of you hang your blue tags, and you know you shouldn't do that.
Okay. Do you have any other questions for? Okay, if not, thank you very much for this great presentation.
Thank you for letting me be here. Have the conversation.
Okay. And as we prepare to bring our meeting to a close and so forth, I'd like to remind you that you can see the video for this meeting today, plus any prior meetings held by the Council on Aging here at toaks.org/TOTV. And then look under Council on Aging when you get to that page, and you'll find those listed. You can view them on your computer at home or your iPad or whatever. All right. So let's adjourn our meeting. Thank you very much for being part of it.